Hello, my name is Paul Vaughan. I work for the Virtualization division in the United Kingdom. Today I'm going to talk about the fundamentals of virtualization. I've got 5 minutes, let's crack on. So this is what the inside of a typical server looks like. You can see there's a motherboard, there's a CPU with some memory, and a whole bunch of hard drives. So traditionally, an organization would say, listen, we need an application to run. It might be a mail application. You'd install an operating system onto those hard drives and then the mail application, and you'd run one application on one operating system on one physical server. And this is what it would look like. Now, unfortunately, these things don't really run at optimum capacity. So sometimes these servers only ran at like 10% capacity. So along comes VMware and other virtualization providers who say, well, you know what, if we can put some sort of virtualization software over on this bare metal, we can then run the application and its operating system in an isolated container, which means we can put 6, 7, 8, 10, 20, 50, depending on the resources needed, a lot of different virtual machines on one physical box. So in terms of what the definition is, we can say that it's server virtualization software is the technology for partitioning one physical server into multiple virtual servers. And the benefit is that each virtual machine will be able to run its own operating system. As you can see there, there's one OS and one application for each one of those virtual machines. It obviously runs its own applications, and they are isolated from other VMs. So anything that happens in this one VM, if there's a virus or something in there, it probably will not affect those other ones. Easiest way to remember it? Well, there are 4 layers in every virtualization environment. Not 5, not 6, not 7, not 3, not 2, 4. And if you get these 4, it'll be an easy way to remember it. The first one is you need a compute layer. So this is the server, or sometimes called the host, that is needed for CPU and memory allocation. So this is normally just a server that sits there doing CPU calculations. So the typical vendors are the likes of IBM, Lenovo, HP, Dell, Cisco, Fujitsu. There's several ones of these types of vendors. The second layer is storage. Now those hard drives that you saw in the previous physical box, well, they get taken out of the server and get put into a special box. Sometimes they're called a SAN or a NAS. It doesn't matter what they call. The point is that they need to be in a separate box. Now, there are typical vendors like EMC and NetApp, several others. These two here, Nimble and Tintry, these are what they typically call hybrid storage vendors. So these vendors have flash-based hard drives plus the traditional hard drives put into the same chassis. And Violin and SolidFire, for example, are storage vendors that have all the hard drives are very fast flash hard drives. Now the third layer is called connectivity. If compute is in one box and storage is in another box, then you need to connect them together. And if you remember in the picture previously, those hard drives and motherboards were connected to each other with ribbon cable. Now you need some form of connectivity. Sometimes it's called network, sometimes it's called fabric. Doesn't really matter. The point is you need to connect those boxes together. And there's a whole bunch of typical vendors in this space. And the fourth layer, again, something you must have, is the hypervisor. That's that special software that you need to put onto the bare metal or onto the host. And then on top of that, you can run the servers and applications. Typical vendors are in this space. VMware, they tend to dominate the space. Microsoft are in there as well, as well as Citrix and a few others. Those are just typical vendors. Now, there are the 4 layers: hypervisor, compute, connectivity, and storage. And the point is, as long as you understand that there are these 4 layers, every single time when someone says to you, listen, I need to buy some stuff for virtualization, then you know you're going to have to talk to them about a compute layer. You're going to have to sell them some form of hypervisor. There must be some connectivity involved as well as storage. You've got to sell them 4 items. I just want to say something briefly about hypervisor terms. If you look at the vendor like VMware, sometimes people call the software, I use VMware software. Just remember that the family name for their hypervisor software is called vSphere, and the actual hypervisor is called ESXi. For Microsoft, you will find that the family name is called Windows Server 2012, and the hypervisor is called Hyper-V. Now, the reason I say this is because sometimes people use these terms interchangeably. They say, I'm a vSphere shop, I'm a Hyper-V shop. It doesn't matter. Just keep this in mind that, things work. People just use words interchangeably. So in terms of an easy definition, then you can see it's the technology for partitioning one physical server into multiple virtual servers, as you can see in the picture. And remember that each virtual machine runs its own operating system, its own applications, and is completely isolated from other VMs. That's it. Thanks very much for your time. Bye.